spirited engagement usually occurs. We're very delighted to have the media join us today, as well as your families. And so I want to acknowledge some individuals who've joined us today. But I first want to thank everyone for coming. This is an extraordinary day for a variety of reasons. And I first want to address an issue which is deeply, deeply disturbing, and that we have to talk about the leak, the so-called leak of the Supreme Court opinion from last night. Absolutely horrified by what the majority of the Supreme Court of the United States of America plans to do to women's rights in this country. And as a woman, this is personal. This is something that we have fought against for my entire life. In fact, this is a battle my mother's generation. It's a battle for my generation, my daughter's generation, and it seems like even my 3-day-old grandchild, Sophia's generation, will have to be fighting this same fight, something that we had thought we had put to bed a long time ago. And I refuse to go backwards. I refuse to go backwards. And that's exactly the specter of what we're looking at when it comes to our fight for abortion rights. So, my promise is that here in the state of New York, we will not stand idly by. Anyone who needs care, we welcome you with open arms. And remember that we legalized abortion here in the state of New York 3 years before Roe v. Wade. We were there for women in need at the time, and we'll be there for them now. Because we believe that access to reproductive health is a human right, and my administration will do whatever it can to protect that right. Back in 2019, I was proud to preside over the Senate when we passed the Reproductive Health Act. And when I took office, I immediately said that we'd not rest on our laurels because access to abortion was so critically important. And we're making sure that anyone in need of care has that right. Earlier this month, our actual budget enshrined into law a requirement that health plans in New York cover abortion services. And we're working proactively now in anticipation of whatever happens at the Supreme Court. Under my direction, the Department of Health is working closely with experts and advocates to issue regulations to ensure that telemedicine abortion is available here, to offer clear guidance to providers, and provide information to patients about their right to abortion. Let me be clear. We're not playing defense. We're playing offense. So my message to women all across this country is that New York, this state of New York, will always be there for anyone who needs reproductive health care, including an abortion. And my message to those who will deny this fundamental right, basic right, you don't want to mess with us. You don't want to mess with the state of New York. And I assure you, this is a fight that you will not win. So, this is not how I wanted to begin this press conference, because this is an exciting day, but the news was so compelling it was impossible to ignore and impossible to be silent. We will not be silent here in the state of New York. It is not our nature. But this is an exciting day, a culmination of a challenging, difficult couple of weeks, not just for me, but for New York. And I deeply believe that the people of the state of New York deserve to have absolute confidence in their elected officials. And for that to happen, they must have full faith in those serving in the highest levels of state government, adhering to the highest ethical standards. When I was sworn into office just a few months ago, I made a promise to New Yorkers that I would restore their trust in government, and I have every intention of making good on that promise. So with that in mind, let me tell you something else I believe. I believe that New Yorkers deserve a government that is fully staffed, fully functioning, and fully committed to delivering for New Yorkers. They deserve a government that will work around the clock relentlessly to deliver results. They deserve a government that is laser focused on leading New York's next great comeback and building a brighter, better future, a more equitable future for every New Yorker. To do that, I need someone by my side who I can rely on for wisdom, guidance, and advice. And that person must be willing to put New Yorkers first and place a high priority on delivering results rather than playing partisan politics. They must believe in hard work, be a team player, and treat everyone with respect. And most important, They must be someone that New Yorkers trust and have absolute confidence in. So today, I'm really proud to say I found that person. Today I'm announcing my nominee, my selection for the new Lieutenant Governor of the state of New York, Congressman Antonio Delgado. Your family's so excited. The congressman is no stranger to hard work and to public service. He's been serving New York's 19th congressional district since 2018. And as we went down the list of candidates for this job, his name kept rising to the top. But if you follow politics, this should not come as a surprise. He's been a rising star with a resume to match. He earned a Rhodes Scholarship while attending Colgate University in Hamilton, New York. After returning home from Oxford, he went to Harvard Law School, spent his early career empowering young people, and also before returning to law and practicing, he worked as a young lawyer in both Manhattan and Brooklyn. On top of that, he's made history. But what's most important to me, what's most impressive about this person, he's the right person for the job. It's his background, it's his story, it's his family, it's his life experience. The fact is, he could have done anything, and he chose public service. In my opinion, you've heard me say this over and over, there's nothing more noble, nothing more sacred than the bond that's created between an individual who runs for office and they put their trust in you on election day, and that must never be severed. I know that he'll work for every New Yorker, upstate and downstate, because he is a New Yorker through and through. He grew up in Schenectady, lives in Rhinebeck, spent time in New York City, and I know that he'll fight for working families because he has a beautiful one of his own. With Lacey, his bride, his twin sons, Maxwell and Coltrane. There you go, gentlemen, you've been called out. He understands the heavy burden that falls on working parents. And it's so critical to build a better future for our children. And he'll do so by ensuring access to health care, child care, and high-quality education. He's also seen the transformative power of statewide economic growth firsthand. His parents worked at General Electric in Schenectady. Proud work. A lot of people work there, and it has an incredible story. He's watched the type of jobs that provided a path to the middle class disappear, like many communities, like the community I came from, those good-paying middle-class jobs that were there one day and they were gone. And it affected not just communities, but the psychology of your region, the psychology because you just don't know what the future is going to bring. You give up hope. I know this. So I know he'll do whatever it takes to bring those communities back. And so others have the same opportunities that he did. I know he'll fight tooth and nail for those things and for all New Yorkers, just like he's been doing in Congress, pushing for quality, affordable health care, supporting the small businesses, something that's deeply personal to both of us, and working hard to bring jobs to his district. Making sure that our veterans get more than just recognition and a thank you for your service. They have to have the resources to continue and have the support they need, whether it's housing or education or jobs. And he's working hard already to ensure that every single community comes back from that pandemic. And he was supportive of the rescue plan. His bill had direct support for communities, which delivered over $130 billion in aid for local government. He gets it. He knows where the power truly lies. Antonio's someone who's been in the public arena for all the right reasons. He doesn't just talk, he gets results. But that's not all. He shares my commitment to transparency and accountability. He opened 5 offices in his district. He formed constituent-led committees to ensure that he was aligned with their priorities. He's out there all the time. I think Lacey could probably verify that. He's out there all the time. And I thank you for your family's sacrifice. But finally, we share the common belief that the only reason we should be in these jobs or pursue public service is to get things done. Nothing is more important, not the partisan politics. He's been working across the aisle. He gets things done. He's first in many, many recognitions. And I want to say, this is an exciting day for the future of New York because Antonio Delgado is the right person for this job. And just a few months ago, I outlined my state's vision for the state's future. I talked about the incredible hardship we endured over these years, but I said, better days are on the horizon, and that we have a new era for New York. And I said this is the beginning of New York's greatest comeback. We must embrace this moment of unlimited possibilities, create a better, fair, more equitable version of the American dream, the dream that we call the New York dream. We have a lot of work ahead of us, my friends, but I promise not to stop working until we make that dream real. And I know I can say the same about Antonio. And I have no doubt whatsoever, that New Yorkers will be so proud to get to know their new lieutenant governor, and he'll embrace them with the same enthusiasm that I have. I'm honored to have him at my side, and with that, it is my high honor to introduce our next lieutenant governor, Congressman Antonio Delgado.
Thank you. Can I hug you?
Okay. He really makes me feel short, but I'll get over that.
Good afternoon. It's a good day for my family. I want to start by thanking Governor Hochul for your kind words. Sitting there listening to you talk about what I bring to the table and the desire to really want to care for people and to serve people. I know you get that. I know you do. I know you care. And it's just an honor to be able to stand here with you and do this work together. I'm excited to be a partner with you and build a better future for New York. It is also good to be with my family. The reason I'm here today, I have to acknowledge my base, my support, the folks who've been with me from the very beginning. And through all the twists and turns of life, you need that anchor. I have to first recognize my wife, my everything, Lacey, who has been the rock for me the moment I laid eyes on her. I'm going to stop there before I get emotional. Our boys, you've all met them already, I believe. Maxwell and Coltrane. My father, for talking to me about character every day growing up. My mother, who talked about the power of love every day growing up. My brother, my little brother, who I knew in my heart of hearts I needed to make sure I set the right mark and who would push me to be better every single day. His wife, Rachel, my sister, my beautiful niece, Melina, my mother-in-law, Peggy, for your sacrifice and your work, and to her partner, Michael. Thank you. I love you all. Let me also say a few words about the reports of the Supreme Court reportedly being prepared to turn back the clock on equality in America, on women's rights, and fundamentally on the very principles that anchor our democracy. I want to be clear about something. Make no mistake. In seeking to overturn nearly 50 years of precedent, the Supreme Court is at once reasserting a social order grounded in patriarchy and male dominance over a woman's body. It is reasserting an order linked to a time when a married woman did not have a separate and legal existence from her husband. These decisions are about power. And asserting control over a woman's body is about asserting power. And I don't know, I genuinely do not know how we square going backwards in this way with our commitment as a country to progress, to believing that we are all created equal. Clearly, the fight to live up to our values and ideals continues. And I am wholeheartedly in that fight. And New York, I'm not backing down. Now, as for today, which is a good day, it feels mighty good. I want to say that over the course of my time in Congress, there has been nothing, and I mean nothing, that I have loved more than connecting in a real way with the communities I represent in all 11 counties of my beautiful district. These relationships on the ground, built through genuine dialogue and mutual respect, have served as a source of my inspiration in the most challenging of days. And there have been some very challenging days. It is certainly true that the halls of Congress have instilled in me at times, and quite often, awed admiration and profound respect. And yet, being home in New York, amongst the people I represent, is where I have undoubtedly felt most fulfilled and energized. Representing this region has blessed me with so many opportunities to meet folks where they are, to listen, and to find common ground. And at every single stop, be it a small business, a family farm, a community bank, a local hospital, a public school, or a town hall. And we did do about, I think, 67 in my first 3 years in Congress. This has always been the mission, to connect. And it is with these incredible experiences in mind that I simply cannot help but welcome with open arms the opportunity to connect with communities all across this amazing state. After 2 years of COVID, over 2 years, intense isolation, distance from one another, we need to reconnect and strengthen our collective bond as New Yorkers. We need to heal together and put humanity back into our interactions with one another. And I want to be a part of that healing process. I think I understand what that process needs. It needs love. It needs compassion. It needs responsibility. It needs accountability. It needs the capacity to care. And it needs the willingness to hope. New Yorkers deserve a lieutenant governor who's working day and night to make lives better for working people and their families. Upstate, downstate, it does not matter. We all want the same thing: security, family, opportunity. The key is to listen to New Yorkers from all walks of life and be their voice to get the job done. I've already begun work on infrastructure, economic development, and job creation in New York. I've led the way in making sure that local communities have economic development resources and, importantly, can decide what to do with economic development funds. I've worked on the nexus between agricultural development upstate and critical markets downstate. I will humbly continue to do this work and be very diligent as your lieutenant governor. As we embark on this journey together, I look forward to connecting with diverse communities all across New York. I look forward to building meaningful relationships, to tapping into the goodness of our collective power. Listen, I know it's been tough. It's a tough day. It really is. We've been through a lot. And it's easy to get dispirited. It is, and cynical. But I also know what we've overcome. And none of us have to do this alone. None of us. I also know it's important for us to remember that democracy is a moral endeavor. We have to believe in it. We have to have faith in democracy. At the heart of democracy is the recognition that there is equal dignity in each of us by virtue of our shared humanity. A humanity gifted to us all by a higher power. And this equality, and this is the beautiful part about this system, this equality is expressed through a concept: one person, one vote. The power to right the wrongs of our society ought to lie equally in all of us. And only when it does can our society be truly free and just. Democracy does not happen on its own. The people have to hold leaders accountable, and leaders have to want to be accountable. That is the work. We must do everything in our power to make sure that we keep democracy close to the will of the people. That's how we restore people's faith in the integrity of this system. I believe we can work together. I know it. We can grow together, and we can thrive together. And I just want to close by once again thanking Governor Hochul for her service to the state of New York, for giving me this opportunity. I truly appreciate it. And I am beyond excited. I am beyond excited to get out there and connect with the people of New York. Thank you, and God bless.
Maxwell and Coltrane, you are liberated. Go forth and have fun.
Good job, guys.
You did great. Just wait a second. So great to have kids here. It really, maybe you have a different point of view.
So.
I miss little kids. I really do. So, so delightful. Karen.
My question is on the Supreme Court decision, if you don't mind addressing that first. You're saying that New York State would welcome with open arms women from states where the procedure is banned to be able to get an abortion here. I was wondering, are there any legal liabilities that the providers might face in any way that the state could help them on that?
This is actually what we're looking at right now with our policy team. Michael Lasher is here. We're working with the legislature, so there'll be some combination of legislative solutions as well as executive actions. So stay tuned. This is a new development, but you know, I'd hoped it was unexpected, but the reality is we had to prepare for this as well. And whatever else the Supreme comes up with, again, we have another major case related to the New York State's SAFE Act as well. So we are being proactive and coming up with legislative ideas and executive action ideas as we speak to make sure that the right is protected as much as we humanly can ensure that is the case. So,
I was wondering if the about-to-be new lieutenant governor has shown off his rapping skills to you, and if you and why you didn't mention any of that in his accomplishments.
that was an oversight on my part.
Absolutely.
As we've learned, I'm not perfect, but I always strive to be the best I can, and I'm expecting this is government function, but I'm expecting to see a lot of that on the campaign trail. Jimmy.
For both the governor and Congressman Delgado, Governor, you've talked about your desire to see Democrats be boosted and to maintain control of Congress. And Congressman Delgado, you're someone who won in a competitive district election twice and was geared up for another competitive race. So I'm wondering your decision to essentially leave as the Democratic candidate in that district. Why did you make that choice? And how did you balance perhaps the desires of the party to hold that seat? And Governor Hochul, the same to you, knowing that you were essentially taking a competitive candidate off the field. Why did you choose that? And what were you considering when you made this selection?
I'm happy to. So, you know, for me, it wasn't a choice to leave. It was a choice to go to embrace, as I noted, you know, the ability to connect with folks across the whole state. It was about building off of the work that I have been doing and feeling, having a strong desire to want to continue to serve and expand my ability to connect with communities. That was what fundamentally drove me, and I tried to speak to that in my remarks to the extent that I feel like I want to be a part of that process of healing. And I still represent, in this role, my constituents in New York 19, meaning I still am acting on their behalf as a statewide elected official. And so the ability to continue to be with my constituents in that capacity and beyond is what fundamentally pushed me into this space.
We are going to continue to work very hard to ensure the majority in the House of Representatives. That is a high priority of mine as well. But I also know that there are so many critically important decisions made at the state level, as we've seen with abortion cases and what's happening in places like Texas and Oklahoma and even Florida, you know, denigrating the rights of the LGBTQ community. So for a long time, the focus has been on Washington. We're going to continue to work to make sure there's a Democratic majority in the House of Representatives and in the Senate, because those are the individuals who delivered to us the billions of dollars that we've been able to benefit from, not just COVID relief, but also our infrastructure. I thank President Joe Biden and Majority Leader Chuck Schumer every day for those opportunities. But also, we have to have the best team here as well. And I said I would find the best. We found the very best, someone who understands the power of government to do good for people, and he is the partner I want to have.
Governor, one question for you and another for Congressman. I'll start with Congressman Delgado. You're from Schenectady. We're from CBS 6 Albany, so hello. For our viewers, can you talk about being raised here in the Capital Region? And there's always a lot of attention on downstate. As an upstate person, what do you want to see changed in the Capital Region and for upstate now that you're Lieutenant Governor?
Well, I just, you know, growing up in Schenectady, you know, going to church, Macedonia Baptist Church over in Albany, playing in the playgrounds, being in the upstate New York Basketball Hall of Fame. Anybody who's interested to know that. I just love upstate. I love this community. I love the region. My wife and I. My wife raised in Woodstock, well, Accord, and then was raised in Woodstock. We got married in Greene County at the Catterskill. Our families are grounded in upstate, but at the same time, I've spent significant time professionally, with my wife as well, having our family downstate in New York City. So we've experienced and had meaningful experiences all up and down the state, but certainly having represented upstate, the last few years, and being in a position to try my best to understand how to speak to those issues that the governor talked about with GEs and the IBMs, finding new places to have jobs. How do we bring some of that back? My parents having utilized those same jobs, to give me the opportunities that I was able to have, and looking back on my life and looking back at those communities and wanting to figure out how we do that. And I think connecting more our communities all across the state, so to make sure that all of our communities are vibrant and sort of feeding off of each other in that way. And I spoke about this with regards to the agricultural aspects in the downstate markets, and just ways that we can build these bridges and look at it more as one big state that is unified and enabling each other and tapping into its respective strengths and natural advantages. And I think I have that ability to see that picture on the board and begin to tie those strands together.
Were you worried to step into this position with what happened with the former lieutenant governor and this situation? And a second question for the governor is, how is this all working? When will he be sworn in? How is his name getting on the ballot? Is all the paperwork filed?
Well, I can answer that, yes. The Committee on Vacancies approved his name several hours ago. He will be on the ballot. And the only outstanding question is the exact timing of when he will resign from Congress, give a little time for transition, because he's very dedicated to his constituents and his team, and there's work to be finished before he assumes these responsibilities. So today we're announcing that he will be the lieutenant governor, but we'll be happy to announce in the near future exactly what date that'll occur, sometime this month. And as far as the process, we just searched for the best. We only had the ability to name an individual last night as of approximately 7:30 or 8 p.m. when the legislature took an action to allow certain circumstances to be expanded when a name can be off the ballot, which was, I think the voters appreciate that action was taken by them, and I appreciate the leadership for making sure that happened. So that's what happened, but I'm really energized. I'm excited. I'm learning new things every day. I did not know about the Upstate Basketball Hall of Fame. I should have mentioned that. I didn't know that. That is a plus. I did know you played semi-pro in Puerto Rico, so that's important too. So I look forward to getting a few pointers to play some hoops together.
What do you say to critics who say that this is a subversion of democracy to let Democrats change the rules in the middle of the game rather than let voters pick between the lieutenant governor candidates who got their signatures on their ballot? What's your response to that specific criticism?
I say they're wrong. I say it's a subversion of democracy to allow the circumstance where voters are being asked to select someone who's actually said they're not running for office. I mean, that's the situation we had. And if you talk to anybody outside this universe, ask someone if they think someone who's already said they're not running, they have a legal issue they have to deal with, and that they're still on the ballot, no one would think that makes sense. So I think the critics are wrong on that issue.
Governor, what kind of assurances, by the way, congratulations on the recent addition to your family.
Thank you.
What kind of assurances can you give New Yorkers that the vetting process this time around for Congressman Delgado was done properly and that they shouldn't have anything to worry about in terms of his ethical background?
I understand the concern. I truly understand the concern, and we wanted to make sure we got it right. This time, thank God, I have a very large staff, people that are seasoned, people that have been through this process before. Immediately when we knew we would have the prospect of a vacancy, we had our legal team assemble lawyers who are experienced in this. The secretary to the governor was engaged. We brought outside individuals together to begin a very, very thorough vetting process. Obviously, it involves state police and disclosure forms, but it was a deep dive into the background. And so, yes, that is something that we took very, very seriously, and I know we got it right.
Congressman, for you, what do you feel you can do as Lieutenant Governor in the state of New York that you couldn't do in Congress? The common criticism for LG is that they have no institutional power in the state of New York. So what do you feel you can do for the state of New York that is greater than what you could accomplish in Congress?
Well, I think first of all, in terms of, and I spoke to this earlier, the ability to be on the ground and represent everybody's interest in the entire state is a defining distinction there. Also understanding that the work that I have done at the federal level in securing, as noted, billions of dollars, not just to the state, but to our local governments. I used to talk about how I secured over $400 million just to my district. Well, that number balloons into the billions when you think about the entire state. And so being able to go to each community, work with the folks on the ground, the local elected officials, the town supervisors, the county executives, you know, from across the political spectrum, and to talk about the ways in which they can use these dollars to invest in their communities, whether it's in broadband or supporting small businesses or making sure that our veterans are looked after, whatever the case might be, to be able to then have the ability to connect all of that and those resources that I was able to deliver. You know, to be able to do that on the ground, to me, is tremendously exciting, and I think it can have a profound impact on demonstrating to people that government can work for the people, and it can enable communities, and that to me is the distinction, is that I'm on the ground and I'm able to make that connection for folks day in and day out.
If I could just add to that answer, though. Excuse me. Let me just add to the answer to that question. I think I can help you out with where you're heading. I would caution against minimizing the power of a lieutenant governor because it's a direct outgrowth of the relationship with the governor. I know a little bit about this. So I knew that for 8 years, I could be out there connecting with people, as he said, but also delivering messages, bringing ideas back, talking about everything from infrastructure projects to clean water initiatives, energy, clean energy, jobs. There's countless ways it can impact. But if you have a governor who's going to elevate that individual to be a true partner, there is power in that. Yes, constitutionally it says you're simply the president of the Senate, but there is unlimited opportunity to have a true partnership that actually works, and the beneficiaries of that are the people of New York, and that's exactly what we're going to have.
I just want to be clear here that you are saying that being a messenger, you feel that it is more important now to be a messenger about the funds secured by Congress than to be securing those funds in Congress?
Certainly did not say it's more important to be a messenger. I don't think the word important or more important came out of my mouth. What I was saying is that I was trying to help you understand the distinction between what I can do for the state across the board as opposed to what I was able to do in my federal capacity. And as the governor spoke about, the ability to work on a partnership level, to not just be thinking about what has been accomplished, but be thinking about forward actions and what we can be investing in with infrastructure, with our small businesses, with making sure that we're supporting our communities around housing, whatever the case might be, having that partnership where I can actively seek to deliver those outcomes on the ground is the objective.
Okay, Bill.
Governor, do you have plans to call a special election for this seat, or should we expect it to remain vacant for the rest of 2022?
Good question. This is obviously very new, and we're just working out the timing of everything. We're not sure how this coincides with other elections. So we know the statutory requirement is to call a special election within 10 days of the vacancy being created, and there's within 70 to 80 days you have to have this special election. That's a fairly new law that was enacted by the legislature. So we're just keeping an eye on that, and we'll be happy to announce it as soon as we figure out what that looks like. Right?
Congressman, real quick, I asked you this before, but I didn't get an answer because the governor answered. Thank you. But this was sort of a messy situation. The former lieutenant governor resigned.
Oh yes, your question was about being worried. You're right. I did not. Yeah, I was not worried. I'm my own person. So I was not worried.
You weren't worried to step in. I want a little more on that. So you didn't have any concerns about stepping into this role after everything that's
I
done.
misunderstood. What is the question again?
The question is, there was a lot going on with the former lieutenant governor. There was a big scandal. He left. There are concerns about the vetting process. There are concerns surrounding the administration. Did you have any concerns about leaving your role as a congressman where you've been successful and stepping into the role as lieutenant governor during an election year?
No, I did not, because one, I know that, and as I've stated before, I know that being able to engage with the governor, having discussions, understanding what the future can hold, understanding the impact that I can have on the state, and understanding what I can bring to the table in that regard, that was where I was coming at this from. The sort of external dynamics that people like to pontificate about and extrapolate about and opine about, that's all well and good. But at the end of the day, these decisions are made from a place of within more than they are from a place of without.
All right, thank you, everybody.
Do you believe that there will be statewide primaries continuing in June, or speaking of election dates being fluid, should there be one consolidated primary in August?
I believe there'll be statewide primaries still in June. That is the path it's on right now. You know, within a fairly short time, ballots, military overseas ballots will be printed, and at least there's some clarity and certainty to the voters who've been expecting this, that we doesn't have to make it absolutely disrupted. So there'll be some clarity for sure, but that is the path we're operating in. We believe that should be the case, and fully expect it to happen.
You wouldn't support any legislation to change that? You wouldn't support a bill that would move all the primaries to
I
one
don't know why we're going to continue to disrupt the process. I mean, the legislature, we've already deemed that June 28th is the day for the primaries. That can include Senate, it can include statewide, it can include assembly. So, it's still a little fluid. I will just say that because there's always legal challenges, as we're finding out. But the path right now is to continue with the June 28th for statewide primaries.
May I just have one last question, Congressman? One last question. I just want to ask you, I mean this from my heart, because you talk about transparency also. How is your health? Do you have any health concerns we should know about?
As far as I'm concerned, I'm in pretty good health. Yeah, I appreciate the question, but
and I'm in awesome health, so just so you know. I'm in really good health too. Great.
Good afternoon, Governor, and good to meet you, Congressman. I have a question about your heritage has been described in a couple of different ways in the press. Black, like Puerto Rican. I'm curious, what's accurate, and if you could speak a little more broadly about how your background informs your identity.
Yeah, thank you for that question. I am African American, and I am Cape Verdean. That is those are the core aspects of my background. Because of my name, Antonio Ramon Delgado, maybe because I also played basketball a little while out in Puerto Rico, and I love my Puerto Rican brothers and sisters. I really do, but I'm not Puerto Rican. But Afro-Latino, I think the Cape Verdean aspect of that is certainly a part of my identity. But at the same time, I grew up, like I said, at Macedonia Baptist Church, a Black Baptist church, and so very much rooted in the tradition of Black culture. And so all of it informs me, in terms of how I go about the work. My wife is Black and Jewish. Our children we're raising Jewish. And so, all these different entry points connect to me and just really help me to figure out how to go in and out of communities and find the connective tissue. And that's the beautiful thing, I think, too, about the state of New York is how multicultural, multi-ethnic it is. And there's so much power in that. And it's really the essence of our country, fundamentally. And so, again, the chance to be able to tap into that and to be a part of that energy, which I don't think has been fully tapped into and is only growing, is very exciting.